Hey everyone, welcome to the Psych 100 Introduction to Psychological Sciences class. So you may have already realized by now I'm giving this lecture remotely, and it's pre-recorded because I can't be with you on the first day of class. I'm so sorry. I was planning on doing the lecture from the room that we're all going to be in for the spring semester, but the sound quality didn't end up being so great. So I thought I'd just do it from my home office so you can hear and see me a little bit better. So today I was just going to give the lecture that I was planning to give in person. And I will attempt to, as I'm talking, insert the slides that I'm talking about through this video. Fingers crossed my video editing skills work well. But I did want to offer the opportunity that if you wanted to pull up the slides on your laptop and have them in front of you as I'm talking to make it a little bit more like it would have been in the lecture, so you can take time to look at the slides a bit more so. You can always ask Olivia to pause this recording so that you can get those loaded on get your laptops out and get those loaded on your laptops if you'd like to. I'll leave that between you and Olivia, how you want to handle that. All of these slides are posted on Blackboard with today's date. So that's an option for you. So with that being said, I'll move straight into the agenda. So we'll start with introducing, why I'm coming to you from a remote recording. I'll introduce a little bit about myself. We'll talk a little bit about what psychology is, and then really get into the details of the course, the goals, the activities, the expectations, how we're going to integrate Blackboard into the course, and then especially what to look forward to over the next couple of weeks. So all that being said, why am I not with you? I figured it would be only fair to give you a little bit of an explanation. I won't be there for the first 2 weeks of class, and please accept my apologies. I really wish I could be there personally to welcome you. But I thought I would let you know that it's not a decision I took lightly. The reason that I won't be there is I'll be traveling internationally. I'll be on the other side of the world. My father and I have lived on different continents for most of my adult life, and he is now turning 80 and has frontotemporal dementia, if any of you know what that is. I think the most relatable way to explain that is that it's the disease that Bruce Willis has. So my dad has a form of dementia, and I'm going to spend a week with him celebrating his 80th birthday and some of my other family members. So it's a rare opportunity to spend time with him. So that's why I won't be there. And moving on, I'm just looking at my slide set while I'm chatting with you here. So that brings me to Olivia. So Olivia Harding is the psychology manager of labs here at the University of Richmond, and she has kindly agreed to give you the warm welcome for the class that I wish I could have in person. Olivia has also agreed to be a point of contact over the next couple of weeks, who's somebody on site, on campus for any of your immediate needs. I'll still be checking my email pretty much every day. So if you have a question, comment, concern, clarification that you need, please do feel free to reach out to me. If it's something that you might need a more immediate response about, Olivia is certainly another option available to you. So we just didn't want you to feel like you were flailing the first couple of weeks. So you have both of those resources to rely on. So thank you so much, Olivia. I really appreciate your presence today and your willingness to help us all out. So moving into a little bit about myself. So I am Dr. Leslie O'Brien. I should have a little slide that'll pop up here with some pictures of me. So I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Guelph. So that's a university in Canada, in Ontario. And my undergraduate was in psychology, so psychology is my first love. And then I also stayed at the University of Guelph and completed a master's degree in neuroscience, so neuroscience, my second love. I put a little picture in here of my family of origin as well. That is probably the most British looking picture you can ever imagine. I am over on the far right, the little girl with the banana shaped skateboard. So I am originally British, although you can barely tell anymore. I sound very North American, but I get on the phone with my mum and it comes right back. So, but yeah, I moved to North America in 2000. So I've been here, I've lived on the North American continent, I should say, for longer as an adult than I was in England as a child now. But anyway, moving on, I then moved to Virginia, to Richmond, to do my doctoral work, which I did at Virginia Commonwealth University. And my doctorate is in pharmacology and toxicology. And really, the research that I did during that time was around behavioral neuroscience or behavioral pharmacology. So some of these descriptions all kind of overlap and blend, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, actually. And then I stayed there for my postdoctoral fellowship as well. So I have about 15 plus years of research science under my belt. And I really love the blend of psychology, neuroscience, pharmacology, psychopharmacology. They're all areas that interest me. Then moving on to what I'm doing now, in addition to spending the semester with you all, I also teach for another university, California Southern University, which is actually a fully online university. And I teach their psychopharmacology class that's tailored for doctoral students, for clinical psychology doctoral students. So again, we can really get into some of the psychopharmacology principles in the course as well, which I'm really excited about chatting with you about. And then the other part of my time I spend, I am an author and I write children's books. It's a little bit random, but I thought I would include that in there. We can also talk later in the semester about the neuroscience of storytelling and how important storytelling is to the human experience. But yeah, I have a series of illustrated children's books called The Adventures of Captain Marco, loosely based on my own cat and our adventure sailing. So that brings me to some of the things I like to do in my spare time. So this slide, you can see a boat in there. I am a sailor with my partner. We spend a lot of time on the water in the Chesapeake Bay. I love to sail. Speaking of, my husband's name is Chris, and there is a picture of my two bonus children. So we are a blended family. I am lucky enough to have a bonus daughter and a bonus son. And there's a picture of Marco, my kitty. I tend to like being outside. I'm definitely a type 2 fun kind of person, so climbing mountains, running, being on the water. So that's a little bit about me. Normally, I take this opportunity where I would stop doing all the talking, and I'd love to get to know you all a little bit better. Where you are in your programs. Are you freshmen? Are you further along? What your background is in terms of your experience looking at scientific articles, research science, what your background is in psychology. Are you just brand new and excited to get into it, or do you have a little bit of experience under your belt already? So unfortunately, that's not possible today, but when I see you in person, I hope to have that conversation, because I think it's really important to make sure that I meet you where you're all at, and we tailor the course to not assume that you have knowledge, but also bring everybody up through the material in a way that you feel supported and excited about the material. So I myself was a non-traditional learner, I think they call it. I didn't actually finish high school. I went on and became a hairdresser. And then many, many years later, I went back and I started my undergraduate degree when I was 30. And it had been, 15 years since I'd been in school. And I didn't have a lot of the basic foundational knowledge that a lot of my peers came to the start of their undergraduate degrees with. So I definitely have that experience. If that's your experience, please know I'm here to support you, or really any experience. So it's just great. I'm looking forward to get to know you all. All right, so we'll move on and talk a little bit about what psychology is. Um, so psychology fundamentally is a scientific study of human behavior as well as mental processes. I think originally this used to be considered a branch of philosophy. And in fact, Immanuel Kant, a very famous philosopher, used to refer to psychology as mental philosophy. And it was originally questioned as to whether it could really ever become a natural science given the difficulty of its quantification. The example that I like to use to describe that is how, the social sciences or psychology in particular is often referred to as a soft science versus the hard sciences like, say, physics or chemistry or biology even. And really what that hard or soft refers to is not difficulty, it's the number of variables that you're able to control. So in soft science, there's just a large number of variables that often aren't controllable for, which actually makes soft science more difficult for that reason. So I think the textbook goes into a little bit more detail about the history of psychology, and there's some really neat information in there about the first psychology laboratory that was set up by Wilhelm Wundt in the 1870s. So that's really neat. So I hope you enjoy reading that this week, getting into the beginning of the book. And then getting into, why should we study psychology? And this slide, which should be popping up right now, refers to psychology really as a hub science. So what I mean by that is that the study of human behavior, cognition, etc., really overlaps or connects to other disciplines just so extensively. So here you can see the pink inner part of the circle are various different perspectives on psychological science, and the outside the blue ring refers to all the different ways it connects to other disciplines. And really, there's no way you could put all of this in one building. So the example here is, Richmond Hall is the building on campus for the Department of Psychology, and the Gottwald Science Center, of course, is for other sciences. So it really does span so many different areas. And in particular, we're really lucky here at the University of Richmond in that we have so many amazing professors and faculty that have research labs that really span across all these various different disciplines. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into, how can we potentially include some exposure for you all into the research side of psychology during the class. So we'll get into that a little bit later as well. And then this slide is just referring to all the different examples of different psychological perspectives. So here are examples all the way from, how one cell in your brain, a neuron, communicates with another, to the social or cultural impacts on the way that we think and behave. So really broad areas of psychological disciplines. So all that being said, let's jump a little bit more into the detail of the course. And what we're going to cover and how we're going to cover it and how you'll be assessed. So these first couple slides are from the syllabus, and they really just kind of broadly speak to what we'll cover here. We are going to cross several different themes from biological, like I said, biological, cognitive, developmental, personality, etc. But while we're doing that, we're really going to focus during the course of research methods around how we study psychology in those areas, as well as cross-cutting themes of how we apply some of the things we'll be learning, the ethics behind them, how there are variations in human functioning, and what the societal and cultural implications of such things are. Our learning objectives, again, they speak to things like content knowledge, which you're really going to get from the textbook. So explaining general principles, articulating differences between individuals, incorporating theoretical perspectives, etc. But then we're also going to take that fundamental foundational knowledge and apply it to scientific thinking. So how does empirical evidence, how did we get to those understandings? And then, of course, relate to it. How can we apply it personally to our lives, to groups that we might be involved in, wider society, and then what's the ethical and social responsibility of some of the concepts that we'll be discussing. So this is the part in my welcome lecture where I beg you all to read the syllabus. So please read the syllabus. I am aware that the syllabus is 10 pages long and that you probably have a syllabus for every class you're taking, and that's a lot to read. But I just really encourage you, make yourselves a cup of tea, sit down for 10 minutes, read it start to finish. It will really set you up for success for the rest of the class. If you genuinely cannot do that for any reason, I would say the most important page of the syllabus is the last page, page 10. And we'll go into page 10 a little bit more in the next slide. Page 4, 5, and page 10 are the most important pages. So I'll direct you to those. But if you have other questions, please, before you reach out, just do a controlled find in the syllabus, see if the answer is in there before you reach out with a question. But yes, please read the syllabus. There's lots of great information in there. Okay, so the next slide. So this is that page that I referred to. So page 10 of the syllabus. So it really is our schedule for the whole class, what we're going to be talking about and when. Anything in bold refers to things that are due. So deliverables that will be expected of you. Anything in green is a no class day. So in particular, obviously there are 2 in the middle of the semester that's spring break related, but I also wanted to draw your attention to Tuesday, January 20th. We won't have a class that day. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is the day prior to that, but because I'm teaching 2 sections, I want to keep everybody on the course section on the same schedule. So we're going to use that as an observed day. But I really want to encourage you on that day, because we missed that day early in the semester. Before the first exam, we're going to be condensing the rest of the material just a little bit. So please read ahead. Use that time that you would have been in class to dig into the next chapter readings. And yeah, use that time effectively if you can. Speaking of reading ahead and the textbook chapter readings, it's going to be really important that you read whatever the chapter is for that week. I've put on the far left-hand side, the date and then the week. So we're going to have 2 classes per week. We're Tuesday, Thursday rhythm. But for the whole week, make sure that you read the textbook chapter prior to coming to class on the first day. It'll really set us up to be able to have some good discussions in class. The way that the class lectures are going to work is I'll absolutely cover some of the really important material or some of the foundational concepts. But what I really want to do during class is to kind of get into them in a little bit more detail, or maybe do some exercises that help those ideas kind of come alive or seem more relevant, or, kind of stick a little bit better. So I'm not going to teach just everything that is from the textbook. So it's really important that you do those textbook readings and that you come to class prepared. Also, we're going to have some reflections that will be due as an in-class hand-in assignment, and I'll go over those in a little bit more detail here shortly. But the reflections will be on those chapter readings as well. So anything, like I said, in bold, you'll see on the right-hand side, you'll see where the reflections are due. So I think that's everything for the syllabus. But let me know if you have any questions about the syllabus for sure. I definitely encourage you to keep it somewhere, because it's really going to be telling you what to expect and what to do every week. So keep it somewhere close to hand. If you like hard copy, print it out, stick it in front of your desk. If you're a more digital person, put all those dates and to-dos into a calendar. Just take some time at the beginning of the semester to set up some kind of organization around that. so you know exactly what we're doing every week. And I will remind you, but that's going to be the bones of our plan. So next, I'm going to talk about each of the various different ways that the course is going to assess you, and how we're going to go and evaluate all those, learning milestones that I talked about before. So here you can see it's a little pie chart, and there are 5 different assessments that we'll do. So exams, low stakes, class assignments, which are those reflections, a research in real life component, an applied research skills component, and a scientific literacy project. So I'm going to take a little bit of time now to walk through and talk about each one of those different things and what they are. There is a lot more information about each one of them in Blackboard. And I'll direct you to where in Blackboard. We'll talk about that a little bit later too. But for now, let's start by talking about each one. And we're kind of going to start with exams, and we're going to go counterclockwise because it just worked out that way. So exams, you'll have 3 exams. Again, refer to page 10 of that syllabus for when exactly they'll be. They're pretty much evenly spaced throughout the semester. And they are really going to cover material specifically from the textbook. So it will be using the in-class lecture slides to study from and directly from the textbook. Each of the exams will be non-cumulative. So after you've been tested on the material for exam 1, you won't be tested on it for a subsequent exam. And the exams are going to consist of a mix of multiple choice and short answer questions. So I haven't quite finished deciding how much of each, but let's say roughly 2/3 to 3/4 multiple choice, and then just a few short answer questions at the end there. So moving on, the next learning activity and assessment is the low stakes class assignments. So these are what are referred to on the syllabus as the reflections. So when you've done your textbook chapter reading for the week, I want you to write a short reflection based on what you read in that chapter. We're going to have 8 of those in total. It won't be every single week. So again, refer to the syllabus for which weeks you need them. But they should be part of your weekly class preparation. What I'm going to do is have you hand them in a physical copy, old school, in the second class of the week. So they'll always be on a Thursday. Of the weeks that they are due, they'll be due on the Thursday. And then, see page 10 of the syllabus for the specific dates that they're required. And then in terms of what is required for each one, go to the course materials section of the Blackboard site, and there's a nice little PDF document that you can read and refresh yourself about how to write the reflection. And then there's a little form that you can fill out. You can fill out that form, print it off, or copy and paste it into a Word document, or you can handwrite your reflection. If you just want to put it on a piece of paper and handwrite it, I'm absolutely fine with that. Just make sure that you answer how to write the reflection accurately, and that is on this slide. So of what you read this week, what in particular resonated with you and why? That's the first part of the reflection. And then the second part is consider how the material that you have read about this week relates to one of the below themes. And then you have these 7 themes that you can read through on your own time and decide which one is really popping out most to you. So some examples are, how could applying a particular psychological principle you read about in that week be applied to change our lives, organizations, or communities in positive ways? The one that I really enjoy thinking about is how could you find an example of how a psychological science principle or theory or whatever it is you read about that week, how it relied on empirical evidence but also adapted over time. So how did our understanding of something change with time? Which is really neat to think about because it really taps into those ideas about how we study psychological science from an empirical perspective. But anyway, so those everything included on this slide, again, is on Canvas in a larger document. So go to, Blackboard. Go to Blackboard to check out more information about the low stakes class assignments /reflections. So the third learning activity and assessment are the research and real life component. So this one, I'm hoping you're going to have a lot of fun with this one. It is over the course of the semester. You can complete it at any time during the semester. They're not due until the last day of classes, the last week of the semester. Again, all those due dates are on page 10 of the syllabus. But what this particular assessment is about, or activity is about, is participating in research and then writing a reflection on it. So you'll be required to complete 4 in total. And for each of those 4, there's 3 different ways that you could potentially participate in research. So the first way is to participate in a research study that's ongoing here at U of R. And to do that, you have to register with SONA. So that's the online system. The second way to participate is to attend a University of Richmond psychology research talk, which you can also find more information about where they are and when they are, again, through SONA. So both of those you have to register with SONA for. And then the third way is through a visualized experiment. So you can go on to the Jove website, read a paper, view the experiment. They have little videos for each experiment, and then write a reflection that way. And I put them in that order for a reason. I think you'll probably get the most out of participating in an experiment in terms of how to connect with how psychology is studied empirically. I think the second most valuable way is to learn about how somebody else has done their research, so attending a talk. And then the third way is reading a paper. So I would just really encourage you to start working on those early in the semester. The research studies certainly fill up early. You don't want to miss those opportunities if they're available, if they're out there. I would just encourage you to start on them soon. There's more information in Blackboard about each one. Again, there's a document, and it tells you how to register on SONA. It tells you specifically where to go and how to do that. And it tells you, the document has all the information in that you need, and it's also got the reflection forms. So depending on which one you do, you print out whichever reflection form, and they will be submitted through Blackboard. So when you complete it, submit it through Blackboard. Try and complete your reflection within a week of having completed whatever activity it is, so it's nice and fresh in your mind. But yeah, so, and of course, any questions about any of these things, please reach out once you've taken a look at those documents. So the next activity and assessment are the applied research skill assignments. We're going to have 2 of those this semester. We're actually going to use in-class time to discuss them, so there's no information for you to go and read about those yet. Just kind of hang tight and be patient, and more will be revealed in the semester. But the dates that they are due, from the deliverables from those assignments, are already on that last page of the syllabus. So you can certainly go in and reserve some time in your schedule knowing when they'll be due. But the details of them we'll talk about more in class. But basically what the applied research skill assignments are a way to practice building scientific thinking and scientific literacy skills. So we'll be reading some papers, we'll be talking about the papers, we'll be looking for papers, we'll be talking about how our understanding of behavior and thought changes over time using literature. So, and we'll have lots of different I think I just accidentally thumbed up on the video. I don't know how I did that. I don't know if that just popped up for you all, but anyway. Yeah, so we'll talk about more in class about all of those. But the important part of those is that 1, you will have a lot of agency in terms of the topic that interests you, and 2, the work that you do in the applied research skill assignments will lead to your final project around scientific literacy. So your final project will build from the applied research skill assignments. Your final project will be in 2 parts. There'll be an explainer video that you'll need to do, kind of similar to maybe almost what I'm doing now, but not quite so long-winded and waffly. But yeah, there'll be an explainer video and a script that you'll upload into Blackboard. And then there's also a paper that you'll be writing as well. And that will get uploaded in Blackboard as well. The information for the final project is already uploaded on Blackboard, so you can go into Blackboard and read a little bit more about this one. It won't make complete sense yet until we get into those applied research assignments, but you can at least take a look about what your final project's going to be, and maybe start planning for if you've never produced and edited a video before, maybe you can start planning and prepping some of those skills ahead of time, so that you don't feel blindsided at the end of the course that that's another skill on top of that to learn. So please go in, take a look at the details for the final project a little bit more as well, and they're under course materials. And again, the point of this, the final project, is further practicing and demonstrating scientific thinking and scientific literacy skills. So they are the 5 components of the class in terms of skills assessment and practice. And next I was going to talk about Blackboard, and it might be a little hard to show you from the video. I might put some screenshots in there, or maybe we can do it when I'm next in person. But regardless, Blackboard will have a bunch of information on there for you. So first off, the syllabus, that's where you'll find the syllabus. All the assignment information I've mentioned so far will be in the course materials area. Any weekly announcements, if there's anything in particular relevant to expectations for a particular week, I'll be sure to place a course announcement. I promise to not try and upload too much. I don't want to overface you. It'll just be anything pertinent in addition to what we've already discussed. But specifically what I did want to point out was I'm going to try and upload the lecture notes ahead of time. I'll try and get them uploaded by Sunday night for you all, so that if you're a person that likes to print off lecture notes so you can scroll on them during class or put them on your tablet, that you'll have time to do that ahead of time. So I'll try and post any relevant lecture notes on Blackboard. And then, of course, we're going to use Blackboard for a couple of submissions, for the final project submission and for the research in real life IRLs. They'll get uploaded directly onto Blackboard, and that's how you'll submit those. So again, any questions about Blackboard, feel free to let me or Olivia know. And then finally, in terms of course expectations, I am enacting a flex token system. If it's useful to anyone, feel free to participate, or if it's not useful, don't worry. But basically, each of you will have 2 flex tokens that you use throughout the semester. You can use each token for any one of the following 3 things. So exempt yourself from a low stakes class assignment reflection with no penalty. Get a 24-hour extension on an assignment, although you can't use them for the exams or final presentation or the final applied research class discussion. And then at the end of the semester, if you haven't needed, if you still have one left, you can drop your lowest grade from a low stakes class assignment reflection as well. So the way that you use the flex tokens is just email me and let me know, hey, I'd like to use my first flex token. This is how I'd like to do it. So they are available to you if you would like to use them. So how to get the most out of this class. So I just tried to keep it short and sweet in this regard. I really encourage you to try and do a little bit often. If you keep up with your readings and prepare for what's ahead by doing a little bit every day or every few days, you'll be able to benefit from the joys of consolidation and reconsolidation. We'll talk about that in the memory week. You really build on the foundations that you're putting all that work and effort into. If you're a person that it's hard to kind of get over the hump of starting, and it's easier for you once you start to just kind of power through, so you tend to be a person that does things last minute in large volumes and quantities, I would just really encourage you to think about how you can do that, but trick yourself into doing it a little bit earlier. So put in some arbitrary deadlines for yourself that you make a personal commitment to still try and work through the material in a structured way throughout the whole semester, so it really doesn't get on top of you. Yeah. So that would be my suggestion. So do a little bit and often. And then the other thing is to stay curious, to keep that door in your mind open to having the way that you view the world, people, ideas, perceptions to be changed. To just be curious about new concepts and let them work on you in terms of adapting them into how you view the world and other people, or not. But to think about them from a detached, curious perspective rather than an emotional commitment to an idea. I think you just really open yourself up to having a really great experience in learning that way. So those would be my 2 suggestions. Do a little often and stay curious. And then finally, just talking about what the next couple of weeks are going to look like, especially with me not being there in person for a little bit. So this week, the next class that you have, which will be on Thursday, Kyle Jenkins from the library, he's a social sciences librarian, is going to come and do the class, and he's going to introduce how to find psychological articles and talk about the scholarly conversation. So this is just like really practical tips on how to search for a journal article and what to look for in a journal article. And he gives a really great presentation, so I hope you really enjoyed that. And it'll be nice to get those foundational skills early on, because we're really going to build off of a lot of those. Definitely this week, start reading chapter 1 and read ahead even further if you're interested and able. And then I definitely encourage you to register on SONA this week. So for those research and real life assignments, start getting all that registration situated so you can start seeing when the research opportunities pop up. You'll be made aware of them. And you can start planning your semester in terms of what talks you want to go to as well. And then next week, the first class of the week next week is going to be that MLK Junior Day observation. So we're not going to have a class a week from today. So definitely use that time if you're able to get some of the textbook readings ahead on them. So start chapter 2 and even read further ahead. If you have any DANs, athletic, religious, or other known excused absences that you need to communicate to me, please make sure that you've done so by the end of the second week. And my email address is down there at the bottom of that slide. It's also at the top of this whole presentation as well. So, with that being said, let me look at my little calendar here. Next time we will see each other in person is Tuesday the 27th, so 2 weeks from today. So, like I said, I look forward very much to meeting you all. I'm really digging into the material, and in the meantime, if you have anything that you need, contact me, contact Olivia. I hope you have a good first couple weeks of class, and then you'll have me the whole rest of the semester. So, all right, well, it's wonderful to be here, and I look forward to spending time with you all, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.